this keynote speech. So I request Dr. Eric to start your presentation. Are you ready with your slides? Hello, you are not audible.
Yeah, switch on.
You can switch on your.
Now mic is on. Okay.
Yeah, now you can. Yeah, please.
Okay. Can I share my presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be there today for this virtual conference. Even though I will appreciate more to be in Vijayawada and to be in my beloved Krishna district, but by the way, with this pandemic, we have to work from far away. So today I will talk about civil crowdfunding and participatory planning. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about this. So crowdfunding began among the artist community at the beginning of the 21st century, and it gained momentum after the 2008 economic crisis. So it was already one kind of crisis. This crowdfunding opened new paths to the financing of small-scale projects in the cultural and technological sector. So surfing the success of the 2.0 web technology, social networks, crowdfunding offered an opportunity to raise money outside the family and friend cycles. So is the web 2.0 and its virtual community will be able to foster civic engagements far beyond small-scale individual projects. So that will be my question today. Nowadays, crowdfunding is used also to finance civic projects for the benefit of local communities. Urban development needs funds to finance civic projects for the benefit for new infrastructures and to renovate old ones. Funds are an even more vital asset for developing countries, which must constantly fight against deficit or debts, as it was the case for AP after bifurcation, and also maybe for every city after this COVID-19 crisis. So that's why I titled my talk, Civil Crowdfunding on Participatory Planning, a way forward for a more resilient city. So I'm going to share my presentation. Do you see it is good? Yeah. So civic crowdfunding and participatory planning, a way forward for a more resilient city. So I will start with one case of civic crowdfunding that I will look nearby Vijayawada, because I will take the case of the new capital of AP, Amaravati. So in 2015, the new AP government decided to start and to build a new capital nearby Vijayawada in Amaravati. So it was the first case of a state-driven crowdfunding initiative, financed new greenfield capital, a world-class city which was planned for 4.5 million inhabitants, and within only a short span of time, 4 months, the Andhra Pradesh government created a crowdfunding initiative and was able to receive more than 2 lakh donation and to collect 5 crore rupees money. So it's a very interesting case. So based on this example of civic crowdfunding, I will explore the research field of civic crowdfunding to identify the original characteristic of the My Brick, My Amaravati campaign. And we will also discuss the scalability of civic crowdfunding and for mega urban project. And we will also discuss the non-financial effect of this kind of investment and way to gather the people around the project. So I will speak very little about the project of Amaravati, just to give a few elements. So this project, the history of the Amaravati project, start after the bifurcation of the state in 2014, and in September 2014, the previous Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu selected Vijaya Guntur to implement a new city, and they plan a very big city and a 217 square kilometer. And even for a bigger project, they create a region, CRDA region, Capital Region Development Authority, and more than 7,000 square kilometer. So quickly, they were able to have a master plan for this city. It was drawn by a firm in Singapore. And so in October 2015, they laid the foundation stone of Amaravati with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, coming for this event. So at the same time, when they start the foundation of the new city, the Andhra Pradesh government opened a web portal to raise money for the city. So the chief minister decided to use an innovative way to finance its mega urban project, crowdfunding. Each donor could buy as many digital bricks as desired for 10 rupees each and could pay online. The buyer's name was engraved on the brick, and he or she received a certificate of commendation from the chief minister, which said his word: every brick matters and every effort is valued. Your gesture will go a long way in realizing Amaravati as a true people capital. So why usually crowdfunding is used for startups or for small-scale artistic projects? Here, it was used to fund a world-class city, Amaravati. So from where this idea of crowdfunding is coming? Crowdfunding was coined for the first time in 2006 by Michael Sullivan, who was the creator of a fundraising website, Fondavlog, and he defined it as crowdfunding, quote, crowdfunding refers to the effort by entrepreneurial individuals and groups, cultural, social, and for non-profit, to fund their ventures by drawing on relatively small contribution from a relatively large number of individuals using the internet without standard financial intermediaries. So this is a very narrow definition of crowdfunding. So I will prefer the definition given by Mendes da Silva. Crowdfunding allows an unlimited number of geographically dispersed people to be reached by the purpose of obtaining small amounts of money for financing a project or enterprise. So crowdfunding, after being used for artistic projects, have been expanded for civic projects to mobilize citizens and public institutions like municipalities and private companies offering internet platform start to raise money. So researchers in the field of business start to analyze crowdfunding as an attempt to try to compare this new way of raising money with traditional forms of investment. So they study different professional online platforms like Celeband in Netherlands or Catarse in Brazil or Kickstarter in USA. So they develop a set of hypotheses and methodology about these studies. So they study the role of actors, who are the funders, who are the investors. They try to understand also the reason or the success of failure of these projects. And even though also they try to assess the impact of distance for the success of this project. And what Agrawal say in 2011 and 2015 in his article, that the greater the distance between investors and the project is, the less likely the investors are to invest, and furthermore, they will probably invest less. So, of course, with the use of social networks, you can break the distance barrier, but you can't completely erase it. So, if we want to see also what is the case of my brick my Amaravati campaign in this kind of crowdfunding, we can analyze it as a kind of patronage model. So there is no reward. People give money. They have only one virtual brick engraved, and it is public crowdfunding because the money is coming from the public. And in this case, what is very original, that this attempt was made for a very large scale project. So we can study as a geographer this civic crowdfunding initiative, because crowdfunding can be used also to provide service for communities. And by the way, civic crowdfunding became a subfield of crowdfunding. So civic crowdfunding, the term is used when you are funding projects for the public. This may attract the interest of urban researchers, as this project occurred in cities, and due to, of course, technical constraints, because you need a very high level of IT connectivity, and also because you need to level some skill constraints, because you need to have people who have a good level of e-literacy. So they study this project, and we can see that development of civic crowdfunding may improve in the coming years, and they rely on different assumptions. First, that the development of the Web 2.0 on online payment method may enlarge option for fundraising. Also, civic crowdfunding may develop because in the north there is a decrease of public budgets in cities, and the fact also that a lot of stakeholders of urban development, citizens and local governments, develop more common interest with this way, by this way. So these are non-financial benefit of civic crowdfunding, and because you develop skills between the people who are gathering money. And also the fifth reason for maybe the development of this new technique to find money for cities, that's the fact that there is more and more online private platform dedicated to civic crowdfunding. I can name a few of them, Citizen Investor, Lobby, Neighborly, or Space Hive. So there is more and more platform that you can use to raise money. So in the interest for the development of these techniques for Amaravati, the case of Amaravati is very interesting because usually civic crowdfunding is used for small urban projects. But if we take the case of Amaravati, if it is a case of fundraising for a very, very big city, And so, and also, there is a second reason, because as Amaravati is a greenfield city, you don't have now citizens inside the city. So you are trying to gather money from people who are not inhabitants of the city. So the second reason for the interest in crowdfunding for Amaravati is also that for the moment, a lot of researchers has focused their interest on in the north about cities in America, in Europe, but less about the south. So also it's a second reason to study this case. And maybe the last reason is that usually researchers has focused their interest about private crowdfunding platform, and usually they are comparing a lot of projects to see what is a success. And with this example of My Brick, My Amaravati campaign, we are going to study only one project, so we can be more focused on what is the profile of the donors. So to study this subject of My Brick, My Amaravati campaign, we use digital humanities methodology because we were able to access the database of all the donors who have participated in this campaign. So you can go on the website of this campaign and you can have all the details that people provide for this campaign. So now we know that there is more than 2.2 lakh people who have made a donation, and the total amount of money which has been raised up to now is 5.7 crore money. So it's already a huge base of information about who gave money for this campaign. And when people, at the time when people give money for this project, they have to fill a questionnaire that you have on the screen. So they request a certain amount of information. Some of this information were optional, like Aadhaar number, but usually you have to say who you are. Are you an institution or an individual or a family? You have also to give some details about your location, from where country you are, which state, which city, so you can enter the full name of the city. And you give also some details about your gender, male or female, and after, of course, you are going to fill the amount that you are going to give. So for example, if you give 10 rupees, you pay for 1 brick, etc. And if you pay for more, you can have more bricks, of course. So on this online platform, you have all the details. So we retrieve all these data in order to process the data and to understand what was the mobilization of these people through this crowdfunding initiative, who decided to give money for Amaravati. Are they coming from all over India? Are they coming from all over the world? Are they coming from all over the states? So with the geographical information, we were able to process these data. By the way, we have not used all the data to study this information because on the 10th of November 2015, the platform was used to break a Guinness World Records, the maximum number of donation in one day. So in one day, you have 1.4 people who make a donation of 1 brick. So all this data was gathered only in one day. And so the question at that time was more than to break a Guinness Book record than to give money for the city. So in our sample, we discard this data and we keep only 81,500 donation gathered from October 2015 to April 2018. So these donation represent 98% of the e-brick that has been purchased for this project. Of course, when you are processing these data, you are faced with some difficulties because you have data which are very heterogeneous. For example, you have data about the location of the people, and you have also some data, and you have also personal data about the people. So we have to use a web methodology to process the data. We use different tools that I give the name here. And even we use the Google Map API to locate all the people on maps. And at the end, what we get only the places where people give more than 5 times at the same place. So it means that we were able to identify 850 places which represent 94% of these samples. So we try to assess the success of this campaign. So we process the data, and we start to analyze these data. So we break this. I give in this first table an idea of who gives some money, and who are the main person who participate in the campaign. And even the website is still open, so you can still give money for Amaravati. So in this project, we see that the bulk of the donation are coming from individual people. 75% of the donor are individual people, and you have also 18% of the people who are family. So if we gather all together these two data, we can see that 93% of the money which has been raised has been given by people or families. So we can say that there is a very fast and a massive support for this project in AP. So we can see also that there is some organization who give some money. So we have also 3% of the people who are organization, and you see that usually they are providing more money because, of course, they have more asset to give. So it was a very big success for this crowdfunding platform, because all this money was given only in 2 months and a half, 95%. And usually the mean donation was 63 e-bricks. So it means that the average donation was 630 rupees. So if we want to evaluate, of course, the success of this crowdfunding initiative, we must compare it with other crowdfunding platforms. So in India, we don't have so much civic crowdfunding initiative to compare with. So even more in 2015, because it was at the beginning of the crowdfunding platform in the world and even in India. But we find another case of civic crowdfunding in India. It is the case for the crowdfunding campaign for the Statute of Unity. So the statute of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the tallest statute of the world, which has been built in Gujarat. So the Prime Minister in 2010 started to try to fund the project, but this project gained momentum only in 2014. And you hear me? Okay. Hello? Hello, hello. Yes?
Yeah, yes, you are
Okay.
audible.
Okay. So I continue. So very small. So I was speaking about another case of a crowdfunding campaign, Civic crowdfunding campaign. So when they decided to build the statue, they also start a crowdfunding campaign, and the target it was exactly at the same time that the case of Amaravati. So that's why it's very interesting. So they target for a campaign to raise 5 crore. But in the case of the Gujarat campaign, they were able only to gather 5 lakh through civic crowdfunding, and they have 416 donors. And if you know that the project, which is now has been completed in 2018, so it cost 2,362 crore money, and that they need also 650 crores money for maintenance of the statutes. You will see that 5 lakhs is a very small amount. So we can say in this case that that's why we can say that the case of Amaravati is a success, because they were able to raise 5 crore money, not 5 lakhs. So our question was to try to understand who gave money for these projects. So we start to process the data and to through the location of the people, to try to understand from where the money is coming. So here you have 2 maps, one map of the world, and you can see that there is very few donation from people from outside India. You have only 183 donation who came from outside India. And one of the reasons is that it was quite impossible to give money from outside India. So you must be inside India to be able to pay online for the project. So that's why there is so few donations from abroad. But a few people who give money say that they were living abroad. So it seems that they were in India, and that's what from India that these diaspora people give money. So if we look at this map, we see the main place where people from AP are in the world. You find a donation from America, from Singapore, from Australia, from UK also, and from the Gulf countries. So this is a good map of where the diaspora is now on the world. But more interesting is what is the distribution of the money inside India. So if we look at the map of India, of course, the bulk of the money is coming from AP and from Telangana, and you have also a few donations from Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, but obviously the bulk of the amount, 94% of the money, is coming from the pre-bifurcation Andhra Pradesh. So that we are going to focus more on these information. So this is the map of the donation that has been made within India, so within AP. So for this map, we decided to not to draw only 1 point per state, but to make a map of all the donation and to map all the place where you have at least 5 donations. So we can see that there is a donation who are coming mainly from AP, and of course there is much less donation coming from Telangana, apart from Hyderabad, where you have a donation from this place. But also, of course, as you know, Hyderabad has to be shared between the two states for 10 years. So means that there is still a lot of people who are from the coastal Andhra who are still living in Hyderabad. So that explains why we have this amount of money which is coming from the main city of Telangana. And you find also some money which is coming from Kaman district on the northern part of Telangana also, where you have also a pocket of Kama people, so which can explain also why we have money from this area. But of course, what is more interesting is the geography of crowdfunding for the state of Andhra Pradesh. So we have a very interesting geographical location for this donation. You can observe that you have the bulk of the donations are coming from coastal Andhra and mainly from 4 districts, Guntur, Krishna, East and West Godavari. And you find less donation in Rayalaseema and less donation from North Andhra. And this is the first conclusion that we can draw from this map. The other conclusion that we can draw from this map also that in the case of Rayalaseema and also Northern Andhra, you find a distinction between money coming from the cities and money coming from the village. So of course there is a kind of divide between urban and rural donation. So you have more donation from cities and less from rural areas. So we can, of course, analyze these results. That's what I will call the proximity effect. We see that the more proximate you are to the new capital, the more money you are giving, even if you are from rural areas or if you are for urban areas. We can also analyze the fact that you have more money coming from cities than from village, maybe also that we can call an economic effect. People who have more money in the cities are more able to provide funds for this kind of project. We have the same, we can make the same conclusion if we look at the tribal areas in northern Andhra Pradesh. You don't have so much donation because also you have this economic effect and this distinction between places where you have more money and where you have less money. So, so this was the result. You have a success of the project, of the campaign, but this success is unequal. It depends upon the place where people are living nearby the project, or also if they are living in cities or if they are living in villages. So if we observe all these informations, so that's what I call the, of course, the effect of the political divide between Telangana and AP, the role of distance, and also the economic effect. The economic effect has been studied by various scholars before, and for example, Mendes and Da Silva in 2016 observed that the greater the distance between investors and the project is, the less likely the investors are to invest, and furthermore, they will probably invest less. So we observe this in our case. But what is also very interesting to study in these results is that you may have an added value. That's what Sleditsky and France write in 2019 about Civic crowdfunding, that you can have an added value of civic crowdfunding for citizen participation in urban development projects, because it depends strongly on the inclusivity of the campaign. So what that means that if you are developing a project in a neighborhood in a city, you may have more participation of people in this case. So you can also have some, we can say, some side effect of this civic crowdfunding initiative. So to conclude about this case and what we can have some lesson to use for cities in crisis, that if we analyze the case of the campaign My Brick, My Amaravati for India, I say that it was a success. They were able to gather 5 crore of money. But of course, if we compare this amount with the total cost of the city, it's only a very small amount of this cost. The cost of Amaravati has been evaluated to be around 52,000 crore only for the phase 1 of the city. So 5 crore it's only 0.01% of the total cost. And if we want to give a more concrete example of what is 5 crore, the seed access road, the cost of the seed access road is 12 crore per kilometer. So with this money that has been given by this crowdfunding campaign, you can pay only for 500 meters, half kilometer of this seed access road. So what we can ask as a question, what was the real purpose of this campaign? And maybe we can say that the main object of the campaign was less to try to find funds, because the money needed to finance a huge city is a very huge amount. But maybe the project was more to be able to gather a crowd. So that's why I write that Amaravati campaign was more about crowding than about funding. So of course, we have analyzed a different kind of distant effect in this case. Some of these effects have been already studied by a previous scholar, like the local effect or the cultural effect, the fact that you are investing more money if you are selecting a project which is more near your kind of interest. And maybe we have discovered also in the case of Amaravati what we can call an economic benefit of this kind of project. The question is how to go from a small scale urban project to a bigger urban project. So one of the more interesting effect of this kind of civic crowdfunding activities is the fact that you can develop some non-financial impact, non-financial effect. And so that's where we are going to speak about also participatory planning. So because people who are gathering money are developing skills, they are more interested to participate in the project. So you can use this in your to develop the project. So the citizens of the city are funding their own neighborhood. So the problem is what will be the scale of this kind of project that you can develop with crowd funding. So I think that maybe in the future, if we want to try to gather people around the project, and if we want to engage people and make the city more inclusive, maybe civic crowdfunding is a good solution to attract people to develop their skill and to be part of a project. So thank you for your attention, and I finish on this. Yeah.
Any comments from the chair? Thank you. Is it working? Yes. Thank you, Professor Eric. It was great listening to you. And this is Ayan here. Joined just when you were starting, and it's a different dimension of how to get participation in a more structured way. And definitely, the Amaravati case is so interesting, and the data and the information which you presented today, particularly indicating the spread, the geographical spread of the people who are getting connected digitally through crowdfunding or crowdsourcing. It's definitely is an area of immense potential of research. So I believe, we all believe that this participants might take forward as research agenda and work more on it. And I would request if anybody has to on the dais would like to add anything.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Dr. Herrick, for your insightful presentation about crowdfunding and linking with participatory planning. And with the case example of Amaravati, I think this is a straightforward example for participatory planning. I think you have done an in-depth study about this Amaravati case, and a lot of data you have shown to us. And it will give you a clear idea about how the crowdfunding will have an impact on this greenfield development. And also it highlighted the Andhra Pradesh case before bifurcation, and what will be the impact after the bifurcation, that we can understand. And thank you for your presence, being with us, making such a insightful presentation. Thank you, Professor Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, Professor Eric, it is very fortunate to listen to you from the perspective of crowdfunding as a very important tool which is emerging as a new area of research, and especially for the participatory planning and development in terms of projects. And especially you have mentioned about this new capital. And of course, it is the deviation also now taking place because of the change in the government and the perspectives and the priorities of the government. But as a research, it is really enlightening to understand that how participatory planning is seen not only from the people's perspective, but also the funding. How you also mentioned very rightly that digital humanities, because the money has come from all digital. That is very new aspect of participatory planning perspective. And it is very amazing to see that you collected a bit of data, which is not come across from the local any documents from that. But I think you generated a lot of information about that funding from different sources, from individuals, organizations, and others. So it is amazing, and then I really happy that you share your data and then your research to our participants today. Will be of great useful, and thank you so much for your time, and look forward to maybe you are very often visiting India. I know that now the project of Indian research, especially the greenfield area development, it may be continuing in a digital form, because physical visit to the city is now difficult. I don't know, maybe you will be coming. Last year you had a very good time coming here. So let's look forward that we will continue our relationship and then sharing our intellectual pursuit of regional and urban planning development aspect. Thank you.
Professor Eric, I would like to take this opportunity very briefly to tell all our online attendees and participants who are viewing live stream on YouTube about a little bit about you. Professor Eric is a full professor, as already told by Professor Razak, in the Department of Geography and Planning in University of Lille. But what is really interesting is Professor Eric's research focus on changing mobility and spatial relations induced by ICT, and particularly digital humanities, focus on digital humanities and the methodologies revolving around it, which includes some of the things which he was showing to us, to all of us today, based on web mapping, network representation, social and political dimensions, bringing it into a spatial framework. His particular interest on Andhra Pradesh is something which we are all also very grateful and we are fortunate that we are also located in Andhra Pradesh, and his interest in new capital areas, and particularly Amaravati and Andhra Pradesh, dates back to much before. So we thank you a lot for taking out your time, which is much behind us in terms of Indian time, and as well as enlightening all the participants on as a keynote speaker. All the participants who are desirous of this interesting dimension of research may definitely reach out to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.